good evening everyone. So I'm Zuli and this is Nina. We're doing our final year project for psychology, which was a social experiment conducted at Summit Mall, USA on the 9th of October. So now...
Basically what we did was, the social experiment was basically based on the candle problem. Now what is the candle problem? It's actually, it's done by Carl Dunker in 1945. His experiment was to study the functional fixedness in cognitive reasoning. What is functional fixedness? It's basically a cognitive bias that limits a person to using only one object in a traditional way. So when you encounter a problem, especially when you're stressed out in a very limited situation, you will try to only use that certain object only to how you think it would be supposed to use. You wouldn't think outside of the box. So basically, what the study that he did was, the task that he presented was to attach a lit candle to the wall by preventing the wax from dripping onto the table as soon as possible. So as you can see, the materials are provided, and basically what people have to do is to stick the candle onto the wall. Now later on, this experiment was adopted by Glucksberg in the year 1962, and what Glucksberg did was that he added this element of rewards, which is also called extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is basically something that's external that motivates you to do something, which is could be money, time, anything that makes you want to do things. So what happened, according to Glucksberg, is that he divided people into two groups, which is the easy task and the difficult task, right? And with this, he included reward and without reward. So it could be money, it's money. So what happened is that based on his findings, he concluded that participants in the easy task performed better compared to participants who didn't receive money. And in the difficult task, participants who were given money then performed slower compared to those who actually didn't receive money. So from there, Daniel Pink, who is the author for this best-selling book called Drive, based on this candle problem, he believed that the idea of incentive lessens a person's creativity. So what he thinks is that money actually works as a creativity blocker. So when you get money, when you have to perform a task, you somehow cannot do things very well because it kind of blocks you, and because you only think about the money. So I will explain what actually happened. So the purpose of what we did, the experiment, was to actually measure how this thing is applicable in a Malaysian context. So how can we apply, like, do Malaysians actually are motivated by money, or are they not, or would money actually block them from actually do something better? Now, according to the social experiment, we can come up with two hypotheses. The first one, we aim that in the easy task, people with money would perform faster. And then the second hypothesis, in the difficult task, the participants with money would perform slower compared to those who didn't receive money. So that's what we have concluded. I will pass it on to Zuli to explain what are the methods used.
Okay, the methods that we use in this study is actually, like, this whole experiment is an experimental experiment. That's the design of this experiment, because we conducted an experiment and then we want to know the whole result. And then moving on with the conditions that we had for this experiment was two conditions: easy task and difficult task. Under easy task, we had two groups; difficult task, we had two groups. For the easy task, we had groups where we have participants will be rewarded easy task with a monetary reward, and the reward was 30 ringgit cash. So if you manage to solve the task, you will get the reward 30 ringgit. And then we had easy task without monetary reward. Same goes to difficult task. For the difficult task, we had monetary reward as well, and without monetary reward. The monetary reward for difficult task would be 50 ringgit. And then this whole experiment was conducted at Summit Mall, and we had around 69 participants on that day. So about 27 males, and the remaining 42 were females participants. And then the procedure that we followed actually, where the recruiters will recruit participants to participate, and they will be given consent forms. So in that consent form, they will be told that what are the criteria they need to have in order to partake in this experiment. So the participant has to be, the age of the participants at the range of 18 to 45 years old. And then you must be proficient in English. So if it's either you can understand or you can speak in English, because like the instructions given are in English. So if you don't understand the instructions given, it's quite hard for you to complete the task, and then it's quite hard for us as well to collect the whole data. And then after that, if you want to partake in this participant, we will lead you to the registration table to like fill in your personal details, and then you'll be assigned randomly to the cubicles we provided. So basically we provided 4 cubicles on that day according to the task, easy, difficult and all that. And then the participant won't know where they're going to be. It's either easy task with monetary, difficult task with monetary and all that. So inside the cubicle, we had 2 experimenters. So the experimenter duty was to read out the instructions. They will tell the participants in detail of what they're supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do in the cubicle. And then they will be timed for 5 minutes. After that, once they are done with their task, they should inform us, and then we will proceed to the debriefing part. So during that debriefing session, we experimenter will explain in details about the purpose of this whole experiment, and then how you contribute to this experiment, and we ask them like few questions for them for us to actually collect data for the whole experiment. Next, we will move on with the result.
Okay, so the result that we received from this experiment that we have conducted was actually different than what the initial hypothesis was. That's actually kind of a surprise, because Glucksberg's hypothesis and like his finding was very in contrast with what we have found. So basically, we have found that participants in the easy task with money actually performed slower compared to the ones who didn't receive money. So that's kind of bizarre for us, and participants in the difficult group with money actually perform faster compared to the ones who didn't receive money. So from here we can already see that in a Malaysian context, our participants were actually driven by money, especially the difficult task because it's so much more harder. And this is what we have found in seconds, that in the easy task, in reward, the participants, the fastest was 99 seconds. Whereas for the difficult, 112 seconds. So you can see in contrast here that in the easy task, without money, people actually perform better. Whereas for the difficult task, people actually perform better when there's money involved. So this kind of proves that our original hypothesis was debunked, and this is the actual result.
Okay, so now moving on with the discussion part, the important part of all. Like Nina mentioned earlier, like the result part, where it actually against the hypothesis that we stated earlier. In easy tasks, what we got was that participants in easy tasks without monetary reward perform better than the one were told that they're going to get reward. So which means we concluded that it might be due to the task, it was easy and you're given a reward. So what participant might think that, oh, the task is easy, they might have doubt, so they might take longer time to solve the task. And then for the difficult one, where participants who were given reward perform better compared to the one without reward. Which means that usually if you're in a difficult task and you're given reward, your problem solving time will be longer. But this one is against the hypothesis again. And according to Yerkes Johnson law, he suggested that when an increase in arousal and stress level, you will perform better when you're given a task. So we assume that in difficult tasks, when you're given a reward and you have a difficult task, so you have your arousal level and your stress level will go high. So you basically want to solve the task given. And then talking about the internal and external factor that influence the speed of completing this task for both difficult and easy would be for external factor, we had environmental factor and we had time limit. So for time limit, where like participants are timed, so when you are timed, you will have a little pressure. So maybe participants take longer time to solve, or maybe they don't have like enough time to solve the task given. And for the environmental, this task was done in a mall, so the loud noises are something unavoidable. You have like different shop playing different music, and you have people talking around and all that. So when you have loud noises, you might have like cognitive like problem there to solve your task. Like it's like a disturbance for you to solve the task and all that. And then for the internal factor would be your satisfaction, the satisfaction that you get when you manage to solve a problem. That's what we got from the participants. They feel like it's like an achievement for them when they get to solve the problem. And also they use logical thinking. When they solve the problem, they feel like, oh, my IQ level is pretty good. Like if they don't get to solve the problem, they feel like, my IQ level is not that good actually. And then for the strength, like we get an insight on how to conduct this experiment in a Malaysia context. That was our purpose, like to bring this experiment to a Malaysia context, and we want to see what actually motivate and drive Malaysian to solve a problem. It's either intrinsic motivation or intrinsic motivation. To repeat, like Nina mentioned earlier, like extrinsic motivation is where you are you are influenced by external factor, like maybe the reward and all that. Talking about intrinsic motivation is like how you are satisfied when you solve a problem. And then even though we follow the procedure, even though the flow of the whole experiment was pretty good, we do have some limitations that we have learned from the past, and also we can work on future. Like maybe the material that was used, especially the board that was used, it was quite thick, so the thumbtacks wasn't like easy to penetrate. So participants took like longer time to like solve their problem, and then take longer time to actually penetrate the thumbtack. And then the language barrier. Earlier we mentioned that we only take those who can understand and speak in English. Even though they can speak in English, even though they can understand English, they are participants from different range of age. So different age have different capability to understand like the instructions given. Like old people, they want us to like repeat over and over again the instructions. Like youngsters, they don't have to like, okay, once we tell them the instruction, they know what to do and they move on with their problem solving task. And then talking about language again, like we didn't take into consideration about people who can't speak in English. Like you can't participate in this whole experiment. Even if they understand English, it's quite hard for them to understand the instruction given. They want us to still speak in Malay or their language. And then so in future, what we can do is that for a smoother communication, we can actually translate the whole instruction into multi-language, so that it's like a fair and equal thing for everyone to participate in this whole experiment, and people actually get to know what is this whole experiment is about. And then this whole experiment should be conducted in private area, so that people will have like more. It's easier for people to focus and concentrate on what they are doing, and that's all I think.
But though again to mention, this is actually a pilot study, so to overgeneralize how Malaysian things could be it differs, because if you actually conduct an experiment with 1,000 participants like we do in KL in the working industry, then you can actually get like a proper percentage of if this is how Malaysian thinks, like money actually motivates you. But since this is a pilot study, only 69 participants, and then our participants aren't just working class people, it's students, and then there are like housewives and house husbands. So it can't really be generalized, but you can already get like a clear picture of how Malaysians think. Like according to our result, it shows that incentive actually motivates you to do tasks. So this actually is what happened on that day. Most of our team are just preparing stuff, setting up booths. This is the briefing before the experiment was conducted, and this is the counter for participants to be recruited, where they fill in their details. And then here we have a recruiter trying to recruit a participant for the experiment. So that's basically it. That's the whole social experiment that we conducted.
Thank you for listening.
If you need more information about what happened, you can check out the comments below. You will get a couple of links there, some videos, so you guys can check it out to understand better.